Hello everybody, I am in the home of Mr. James Jackson. He's invited me over to talk about a film which we saw on Wednesday night. What did we see, James?
We saw Neon Demon by Nicolas Winding Refn. Is that right?
It is. I can't remember how you pronounce it properly. It was interesting, wasn't it?
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was definitely crazy. I came out and it's one of those movies when you come out and you're kind of like, I don't even know where to begin to start talking about that. I wasn't sure when I first came out of this movie whether I liked it or not, and it's not often that I come out of a movie and I'm completely lost. Sometimes I sense that I like it and then I think about it and I don't like it, and sometimes I really hate it and then I kind of think about it and actually I think no, there's lots to like about it, and actually maybe I wasn't up to speed with the film and I'll go back and watch it again and then in fact actually the filmmaker was ahead of me. But with this movie I didn't know where I stood and almost felt that that Refn's trying to incite anger within me or an audience while you're watching it, and I wasn't sure whether the movie deserved that. I don't know, I didn't feel like it deserved an outright anger or an outright love immediately. I was kind of like meh when I came out of it. Was what I felt at the time. But the more I thought about it, the more I've come to actually quite like the Neon Demon. I had a huge issue with it when I first came out because I felt that there wasn't much structure or it didn't fit neatly within a genre. But the more I thought about it, the more I think that the Neon Demon is a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And how I remember fairy tales working is that it just happens. There's no context or exposition explaining what's going on in a fairy tale. The characters are just there, they're in that world, and events just happen. And I don't think us as an audience are used to that anymore. The lead character, Jessie, is like a Snow White kind of, fair-skinned, angelic kind of character, uncorrupted by the world, and then she goes into the fashion industry and immediately starts to meet these wolf-like characters with,
she's Snow White, she's Aurora, she's the innocent trapped in this increasingly dark world surrounded by all these threats. My thing about the fairy tale angle is the fact that fairy tales often, as far as I'm aware of these things, they were designed with, they had strong moral points to make, or they spoke about things, which I don't think this film quite did. I was somewhat annoyed when we came out of the cinema, wasn't I? I was a little bit aggravated. I was actually kind of pissed off at this film.
Why do you think you was angry about it?
The pacing is horrendous. It has like 8 endings. It could have been like at least 35 minutes shorter than it is.
I think it suffers from what a lot of modern movies suffer from, and it's a 2-hour running time. I believe that pretty much 90-95% of movies would benefit from having 20 minutes chopped off.
Yeah.
It needs a little tighter editing, and that's not just a kind of accusation at Refn, that's an accusation at kind of modern movies in general. They all seem to be a little bit too long.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would say, I agree with you that there was times where you just thought, and I think I saw you checking your watch at one point, and it's not a great sign.
To be fair, I'm terrible for doing that anyway, but I was like every couple of minutes just lighting up my watch because I was just like, I think I muttered a couple of times, just like, is this gonna fucking end?
And I think that's exacerbated by the silence that Refn uses in his movies. There isn't dialogue heavy.
No.
Which for me is one of the things that I really like about Refn. I really think he lets his visuals do the storytelling, and I think that harks back to an earlier age of filmmaking, and I really appreciate that. And that's one thing that we can definitely say about this movie is it is stunning.
It's gorgeous. It's the cinematographer is an Argentinian woman called Natasha Breyer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She hasn't done a lot in English language films. She did The Rover with Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson, which I didn't see, but I've heard all right things. I saw an interview with her where she said this is the first time she worked with Refn. Obviously, she was well aware of his visual style from Only God Forgives and Drive. He's apparently very committed to digital. He doesn't want to film on film anymore. So she came from a background of using film. So she was worried about that, but apparently she spent a lot of time finding sort of more old school lenses to use on the digital cameras to give it that film feel, and it definitely has that. It doesn't, it doesn't have any sort of the quirks that people might associate with digital, and it's the colours. The colours are gorgeous. Every shot is perfectly composed. And one thing I did really like about this was the fact that it definitely captures the style of like magazine spreads, like fashion magazine photography setups. It really, really nails that.
I think that was a really good point that you made after we saw the movie. Ryan said that each scene felt like a different photo shoot, and it seemed, when I was kind of moaning about lack of structure, you felt that it was pieced together, going from one kind of magazine type of shoot to another magazine type of shoot, or one ad. Kind of, it just has that feeling, and I think that's definitely right. Each individual scene really reflects a style of a fashion shoot.
The last scene. The thing I did think yesterday though was that I could have saved like £5 and just bought a copy of Wonderland or something from a newsagent. I didn't need to spend it on going to a great cinema in the centre of London, but still one that's quite pricey.
I get that. But I do think that there's definitely something there, and I don't feel like I was cheated out of my money for this picture. I felt like it was proper filmmaking. That this works cinematically. It isn't something that you need to see on Netflix, because it is such a it is something so visually stunning, but also it's interesting. You can't say the film's not interesting.
Oh, it's interesting as all hell. But the thing was, there were points where I was extremely bored, and other points where I was just annoyed. It has some extreme scenes in it. It has some very strange ideas.
And I think this is something that we don't spoil. I think that needs to. You need to see it. There is comment about it maybe. Don't read it for other people.
There's one scene with Jenna Malone in it. Malone, how do you pronounce her name? Which I really want to. Scene I'm talking about. Yeah, but I really want to.
What do you think about Jenna Malone in this movie? Because there's not really been much. I saw her in the Mockingjay, the Hunger Games.
Yeah, she was the one of the old champions.
Yeah, and I thought she was quite good in that. But I haven't really seen her much. I haven't seen Sucker Punch, so I can't say you've seen Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch is the only thing I ever remember her from. I must have seen her in something else, but Sucker Punch is the only one I even forgot she was in the Hunger Games, but she was good in that. But Sucker Punch is a film that had a lot of potential, but it was ruined. I mean, they could have removed all the burlesque shit from it, and it would have been much better. But she wasn't that great in that. I don't think she's that good in The Neon Demon.
Oh, I disagree. I think she's fantastic in The Neon Demon. I think she really kind of, without Jenna Malone holding it all together, I don't think it would work for me, kind of thing. Like there's a lot of kind of characters and actors that don't really have much depth. To be fair, most of the characters don't have that much depth to them, but there is definitely something going on with Jenna Malone and her character, and what she brings to that.
I think,
and I think she brings that as an actor to it. I don't think that's from the script. I think she really brings that to it. So
again, it's all kind of cursed for me, because in general my sort of whole feel for the film just sort of collapsed in together. So.
But where is that from? What is it that you actually dislike about this movie, and why don't you think it was worth the money in seeing it?
I felt left behind, and I felt excluded from it, and there was just nothing for me to latch onto. There wasn't, Elle Fanning is great. I've been a big fan of the sisters Fanning since they first appeared all those years ago, like 10 years ago, whatever, when they were all like, I think Dakota Fanning was three years old the first time she ever appeared in a film. Elle Fanning is phenomenal. She's really, really good in this. She's definitely, in my opinion, apart from the visual, she's definitely the best part of this film. But there was just, I couldn't connect with it in any way. I couldn't, I know that's a really abstract thing that doesn't help with much information, but I couldn't get engaged with it. I think that's probably the key word, is engagement. If the film had been weird and, some people might say pretentious, a film can be pretentious but still worth seeing, and especially it can be still engaging. I mean, that's a lot of people say that about David Lynch, even though I don't think he's that pretentious. But there was because I didn't read any reviews. I try not to read reviews before I go in, and I haven't actually watched or read any reviews since I saw it. But I was looking up on Wikipedia. I just wanted to see how it was performing at the box office and things like that. And I happened to notice a line from one review that was quoted in the Wikipedia article. where someone said, "Oh, you know, if you are concerned about the lack of structure or the plot or it not having a real ending," it had an ending, about 12 of them. You know, you're kind of missing the point, and I don't know what to do with an idea like that. I don't know. I need something to latch onto, and there was absolutely nothing for me to do in that regard.
And I think I heavily agreed with that when I first came out of the movie, and that's why I was so frustrated, or didn't think it deserved my hatred, or didn't deserve my anger or my love for it. But the more I thought about it, the more I think that maybe we're trying to read too much into it. That because it looks so pretentious and seems so pretentious, we feel like there needs to be a greater explanation for it. But actually, I think it works in a much simpler way, in a much more kind of, like I was saying, in a fairy tale, a much more allegorical kind of style. Which the best way to see this movie is just kind of let yourself go with it. Don't try and think too much about what's going on and what does it actually mean, which I think I was guilty of. I think maybe if you just kind of let it happen to you, that's the best way to see it.
The thing is that I was very much in that mode when we were watching it, and I was, you know, I'm good at letting things happen. It's a weird thing to say. And then yet I still feel left behind. There was one thing I really did appreciate about this film, is that several times Elle Fanning's character, Jessie, says some things like she's really, you know, she loves how she looks, she's really comfortable with who she is, and also she keeps making reference to the fact that it's not just she wants to be like everyone else, it's that they all want to be like her. And there's also, again, the scene I really want to talk about at one, it makes a good point about how beauty, or the pursuit of beauty, is a very hollow and cold thing. You know, people will do extreme things to be beautiful, even though ultimately, you know, all you're talking about is the shell rather than what's inside. And that I really appreciate. I think that was, in terms of metaphor and stuff, I think Refn did incredibly well with that. But again, it was just surrounded by so much shit. I was just I felt completely abandoned by this film, and I really, really, really think I should have enjoyed it. That being said, I when it comes out on DVD or something, I'm probably going to watch it again, just because it's so fascinating.
I'd definitely see it again, without a doubt.
I just want to see how my reaction would have changed in the sort of 6 months or whatever since it came out. Sound design and music. I love the music because I'm a big fan of like electronica and things like that. And Sia has a song that I think it's Sia, and it sounds like her, who plays over the credits. I love the music in this film. To note the extent, I might even look up, seeing if I can get the OST for it. But the sound,
I think it's Cliff Martinez, if I'm right, who was the composer for Drive as well. And like I'm saying, that's how I feel. It's a sister picture, that not only in the kind of location, but in the sound and look of both,
and tone
films
as well.
And tone, definitely. And I would agree. I like the music, and it's got that kind of 80s kind of, electronic kind of style to it, and I think it works really nice to it. And I think that kind of tone of Refn's movies, especially one set in LA, it works for me, and I like that.
Okay, so do you want to sum this up? How you feel about the Neon Demon?
So the way I feel about it, the reasons for me to go and see it is I feel the cinematography and the production design, the costumes, the look of the movie is amazing, and it is something that you really regret if you haven't gone to see. If you're into cinematography, if you're into production design, if you're into fashion, then you should see this movie. Some of the bad points and some of the things that I don't necessarily like too much, I think it's too long. I've got here that, is it trying to be too clever? And my point that I've made earlier is I think maybe we're trying to be too clever with it, honestly, I think maybe we're trying to read too much into it. I think it's a lot simpler than we think. But yeah, ultimately, for me, I enjoyed the performances. I thought the performances were good, especially from the leads, the protagonist and antagonist, Elle Fanning and Jenna Malone, both fantastic in this movie. And the music's great as well. I mean, there's a lot to like about this movie, I think, and I think it's definitely worth your money.
I do disagree. I think, in terms of the cinematography and everything else, you can see that stuff elsewhere. I mean, if you are curious about the Neon Demon, see it. don't go and see it in the cinema, but go and pick it up when it comes out on Blu-ray or DVD, or stream it. But for my part, I just didn't click with it at all. I was bored. I was annoyed. If you want to see amazing images from the fashion world, you can buy a magazine. If fuck it, we've got Google image search. Elle Fanning is great. I think she's really, really good. Jenna Malone, I wasn't so impressed with. She just didn't bring much to it for me. There's not Keanu Reeves, whatever. I can't recommend it. I can't recommend it unless you are absolutely powerfully curious about the Neon Demon. I cannot recommend it.
Where do you place it with Drive? Because I'm unsure about
Drive is better.
You prefer Drive?
Drive, yeah.
Okay.
Drive's got better performances. It's got Ryan Gosling. It's got Kerry Mulligan in it. It's got Ron Perlman's in it, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's just got a better cast. It has structure. It has a plot that counts. Neon Demon has shown me. You really, really can't take plot structure for granted. It's just more going on. I could probably put the Neon Demon on in the background without the sound on, and that probably would work for me because I'd just occasionally see all the beautiful colours and everything, and that would be fine. It'd be like having just like an installation in the house, which in some ways I guess was kind of the point.
Yeah, it does. It does feel a little bit like that.
Okay, well, thank you for watching. Don't know what we're going to go and see next. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. Do you want to see Suicide Squad?
I've got superhero movies are not my bag anymore, but this one does interest me a little bit, just because I like Jared Leto and I'd like to see his performance as a Joker. Is pretty much the only reason why I'd want to go and see that movie.
Okay, well, if you're up for it, we shall do another one of these.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me into your home to
You're welcome.
the usual facilities. And that was us talking at length about the Neon Demon. Have a good one.